rate increase. Things remain the same. However, with the still with Iran oil prices, there was the ceasefire, and then it stopped. And we saw mortgage rates just jump after the Fed meeting, and we saw them jump again yesterday. I think it was Friday that I'd sent out the message. If you do have buyers that are in escrow that have been floating their rate, um, they should have locked them. We started off yesterday with a little bit of hope, and it turned real quick. And I think we lost about like 50 something or so. It was like 52 basis points, which is like an eighth to a quarter% in interest rate. So I would say on my advisement, it's better just to lock right now. There was another ceasefire put in place today, but I feel like it's just this back and forth thing. Ceasefire, then there's attacks, ceasefire and attacks, and it's just extremely volatile right now. So if the client is payment comfortable, the rate, shouldn't matter because at some point they will have the opportunity to refinance that mortgage loan. So focus on that payment and the other details in the transaction. I would say it's better to lock. I don't know about other lenders, but we do offer what's called a float down policy, and that if rates come down enough, we can do a one-time float down on that rate. So best to lock and get it done out of the way. That way the borrower is not worried about what's going to happen. We don't have to worry about what's going to happen because that big change, if someone's stretching it, can be the difference between qualifying and not qualifying. Um, just better lock, get out of the way, then you're kind of stress free the rest of the way. Because if you don't lock, things do get worse. You can't go back to the better pricing. Whereas if you are locked, you can do that float down pricing. What I was going to share today is a program. It's not a new program. It's one that I've known about. It's been around for a while. I just haven't been that familiar with it. And I think there have been some changes to it from what I knew previously till now. But I wanted to talk about the one I'd shared was it's called the NHF, the National Homebuyer Fund. And that is a first time home buyer product that will do an assistance for the down payment on the first. However, it is in the form of a second mortgage, and there is a monthly payment required on it, and it's 2% higher than uh, the locked rate on the first. Well, Chenoa now, they do have a repayable option, but they do have a forgivable option. That forgivable option, the rate is not much different, especially with a good credit score, not that much different than the repayable option. It's about a quarter% difference. So I priced one out yesterday, it was at 6.875%, and that was on the 5% option. So they would get 5%. So you get the 3.5% towards the down payment, or it can be all used towards the down payment, or use that 3.5%, and the remainder can go towards the closing cost. So they have the repayable and the forgivable. Um, on the forgivable option, it's 36 months of on-time payments. So again, we go back to if the borrower is comfortable with that payment, they can hold on and keep that current rate that it's locked at, even if rates come down. Because if they do refinance that loan, those monies do have to be paid back. So if they can hang tight for those 3 years and get it forgiven, then they can, do the refinance and save that money. So it could be a good, benefit to them. Um, Depending on, what rates are going to do but with the projection, it looks like the remainder of this year and next year, rates are going to kind of hang, roughly in that 6% range. So they may not have to, hold on without refinancing, for all that long. So I have some information. I will share it and email it out. But the Chenoa program, um, I've been a big, CalHFA person, which is still a great loan. But the Chenoa one, if the payment details still work out, it's kind of a little easier process. There's no secondary approvals. There's no buyer education, things like that. So I kind of like the new guidelines and details of it. So I'll kind of be keeping that, uh, top of mind when I am approving borrowers and looking at those that need that assistance to determine whether it's, the NHF or the Chenoa or CalHAFA that may make more sense for them. So I was putting together to share my screen, but like I said, I've been lost in files today. So that's what I have for today. As far as interest rates, FHA, your Govy stuff is still looking pretty good. I locked one yesterday, again, above a 740 FICO score, 5.875. It was like a quarter cost, not bad. And then conventional, you're pushing about 6.5%. So about a 1/4% to 3/8% higher than we were over the last like week and a half, 2 weeks. So kind of just floating right there, but we will get back. So that's what I got for you today. And thank you to those. I did a lot of flyers this past week. So anyone else that needs flyers or need anything else, please reach out to me. Chas, I apologize. I know I delayed on yours. I had got them. I'd asked for them to remove the headline off there, but they were just swamped in other projects. So I apologize for the delay on that.
No worries. Thank you so much. I appreciate you getting those to me.
Of course,
Yeah.
you're welcome.
Thank you for that generous offer too, because flyers can be very expensive. We priced some last weekend, and I think for 100 flyers, it was going to be well over $100. So we appreciate that very much.
So on these ones, I hadn't printed any, but if you need me to print them, I can print them.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yep.
All right.
Scott, I have a
All
quick
right.
question for you on financing end. I don't remember, do you guys, does your new office do DSCR loans?
Island.
Oh, so I didn't hear you. Say that again.
Um, I couldn't remember if your office did DSCR loans or no.
We do.
Can you send me some information about that or any other programs you have for investors?
Yep, we do all the non-QM stuff. So your bank statement loans, your P&L loans, your 1099 loans, your DSCR loans, which can
I'm
be
looking for
used.
more one that is based on property, not so much,
So just based on
income from the
the
borrower.
rent
Yeah,
survey. Got
yeah.
it. Yep, you got it.
Cool. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate that.
All right, of course. Anything else?
All right. Do we have
Carla,
any
you had a
questions
question?
for- I don't think Carla's on anymore.
No
Oh, maybe she
questions.
was-
Thank you, Scott.
Yep, you're welcome. Oh, I want to
Maybe
give a
Carla
shout
was
out
just saying
to.
she had to run or something, you know?
I want to give a shout out to Ashley real quick. I don't know who you were doing the open house with, but she was doing an open house this weekend and ran into the father of one of my good buddies that passed away earlier this year.
Aw.
And I'd seen the father, but he's just been kind of at that time like distraught, and I didn't want to bother him. And I said a few things, but Ashley had a conversation with him that she shared with me over the weekend that kind of got me a little, teared up, but a good feeling to know that he was in good spirits and feeling good. So Ashley, I just want to shout out and say thank you for sharing that with me. I appreciate it.
Of course, definitely. And it was great to connect with him. So I'm happy we were able to make that connection.
Awesome. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Of course.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Scott.
Thank
We'll
you.
go ahead and turn it over to Monica. She's going to be talking to everyone about a very important topic. Monica, did you have something else, Scott?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I got to run. I have to get back on the phone with Ryan and Nicole. So enjoy your meeting. Happy Cinco de Mayo to everyone. Go eat some tacos. Have a beer,
Margaritas.
and be safe.
All right. Thank you so much, Scott.
Thank you. Bye.
All right. Monica, take it away.
I know, Cinco de Mayo on a Taco Tuesday? My. It's what we've been waiting for. So, Actually, one of the reasons why I wanted to talk about this today was because of Ashley. Again, Ashley, you're the star of the show today. And she had a client recently who was relocating from Florida to California. They're in the military and they got their paperwork that said they had to move to this location. And I remember she called me or texted me and she said, "Oh, so there's this, military relocation that wants to come here. Should I take it? What do I do?" And I just want to put this out there for you guys. If you ever come into a situation like that, where it's something new, you're unfamiliar, you're not sure what exactly to do, how it works, how it might be different than a regular transaction, all those things. The answer is always yes, I can help you. Yes, we can do that. And then you figure it out, right? Always yes. And then you sit down and you have a conversation with them, you find out what they need, and then you see what you can do for them. And if you can't handle all of it, you get somebody to partner with you, or you refer it, or you go from there, or you actually help them with what they need. So it's always a little bit of a learning process if it's new, but I just want to encourage you guys, if you ever run across any kind of situation where you can help someone in real estate, however they need help, or if they even have just questions, the answer is always yes. Yes, I can help you with that. At the very least, you'll give them some guidance, or you'll give them someone else that can help them, right? So moving on. It was the interesting part was that as she started working with this particular family who was moving here, and they were looking for a rental right now, not to buy, right? They're just moving here and renting a property. She came across a situation where a lot of the places they looked at when she was talking to either the listing agent or the property management company, that they were saying, a lot of people from the military have been asking about this property, and that kept recurring. And it got me to thinking about a lot of the military relocations that might be coming in towards our area. And while this happens a lot, naturally, because we have a lot of bases here in Southern California, I think right now it may be kicking up a notch for obvious reasons. And it's something that kind of caught my interest, and I wanted to share with you guys this particular niche about that is essentially military relocations, right? Southern California as a whole, especially around San Diego and in the Inland Empire, they have a lot of training facilities and bases. So there's a lot of opportunity for military families to be coming from all over the country to this location. And not just right now, that's going to always be the case, but especially right now. And one of the really cool things about this type of client is that they're not casual. They're not like, maybe I want to do this, maybe I don't. They have to do this. They just got an order saying they got to move and they got to find a place. There's no if about it. This is a need, not a want. So they're very serious when they start talking to real estate agents about this move. And they usually have a timeline that they have to meet. They have a serious housing need they have to fill. And that makes them a lot easier to qualify. It makes them a lot easier to guide and work with. And usually it makes the process very quick because they don't have a lot of time. So especially if you're working with a rental client versus a purchase client, that can happen really, really fast. If it's a purchase, obviously you're still looking at most likely at least 30 days to close, plus the time to find a location, a property, and get an offer accepted. But I would say even if it's a rental opportunity, jump on it. It's a way to make some quick money. They usually have the funds to pay you. And most likely, if you stay in touch with them, they're likely to become a great referral partner, and also may work with you down the line when they decide to move again or potentially buy. So it's really a overall great lead source. The other thing is that they move often, usually about every few years. So even if you're going to help somebody and they rent a property and then they rent another property and they're not quite ready to buy, that's fine. you're going to get this kind of repeat business from them more than likely. And it can lead to more transactions simply because the military families and their community, they're tight. And when they're happy with something, when something goes well with them, they talk about it with their friends, with their buddies, with the rest of their family, and they're more likely to refer you to their coworkers, to their friends, to their other military families that they know. So it can very likely expand beyond that client to a lot more referrals. That's one of the really great things about this kind of lead. That's maybe a little bit different than just your typical buyer or seller. I did send you guys a form that I believe Bobby included in the email that went out, I want to say yesterday, about our meeting today, which has a lot of the notes about what I'm talking about today, and maybe a little bit more detail regarding, you know, numbers and stats and things like this that could help you. So I urge you to look at that attachment that was included in the email and go back and reference some of that information if you're, you know, forgetting what I talked about, or if you want a little bit more detail about how this can work for you. One of the things I added on there was the difference between rentals versus purchases when you're talking with this kind of client. Because they need to move quickly. For rental clients, the process is usually really fast, right? They care about certain things that are meant to be a little bit different than your typical rental client. They really, really care about the timing, obviously, because they need to do it quickly. They care about the commute to wherever their work is going to be. That's going to be one of the most important aspects. Obviously, things like schools, move-in flexibility, pet policies, because they usually have a family with kids, sometimes pets. And they might be looking at long-term housing as well, not necessarily for 6 months or a year. They might be looking at something that might be a little bit longer. Sometimes they might be looking at a property simply to test out the neighborhood and decide if they are able to stay there for a longer period of time, will they want to buy there? So you want to kind of go over some of those things with them when you're pre-qualifying them, when you're initially talking to them. If they're ready to buy and they know that maybe they're going to be stationed in that location for at least 2-3 years, and they're like, yeah, we don't want to rent, right? Great. If they're ready to buy, fantastic. But then the conversation might go a little deeper, because now you need to really discuss with them financing. You need to make sure that they have spoken with a VA lender. You need to discuss, do they have funds for down payment, closing costs? How long do they expect to stay, so that you can give them a realistic idea of what it would mean when they resell 3 years down the line or 5 years down the line, whatever that is. And I think it's important to go over those things, because sometimes they say things like, I'm ready, but they don't know whether or not they're capable. They want to be ready, but you have to get into those conversations, because one, you want to make sure, and two, you also want to make sure that everybody involved is on the same page. This is one of those things where military families tend to move a lot. A lot of times it's not by choice, they have to. And not always everyone in the family is on the same page about whether or not they want to move, like to move, or how they're going to move. You know, so when you're talking to this type of client, it's really, really important to make sure that you are discussing these things with everyone that's going to be involved in the transaction, especially if it's a husband and wife, or if there's more people in the household that are going to be purchasing a property, for example. So that I wanted to throw that in there, because I think that's important up front when you're first talking to them and kind of doing that discovery period, when you're just, you know, discussing options. Now, for something that is more on our end, how we get paid by this type of client. Now, obviously, if they're purchasing a property It's no different than any other buyer. You're going to work that into their offer, and you're going to ask the seller to pay for your portion of the commission or compensation, as much as possible, right? You're going to try to work that into their offer. If they are leasing or renting, there are certain programs that can help them with some of the moving related expenses, but not necessarily all of them. And it's not automatic that the programs are going to cover our fee, whatever we decide that is with this particular client. Ashley, when you worked with them, what fee did you include for helping them find a rental? Was it like a full month rent or half month? Was it a percentage? How did you go?
It was 50% of the 1 month's rent.
Okay. And they had rented what, a 5,000 per
Yeah.
month house?
Yeah.
Okay, so you were able to collect 2,500 from that?
Hopefully today, yes.
Oh, ha ha ha, nice. That'll be
Yeah.
sweet.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think it's important when discussing financing for buyers, it's also important to discuss these costs with your potential renters, right? Because their programs may offer some assistance with some of the move expenses, but not necessarily all of it. And you want to know that they are going to be able to cover that cost for you, because usually for rentals from the landlord or property management side or owner side, they're not going to give you anything. Maybe a few $100s if you're lucky, but usually they're not going to provide much to the other agent. So it's really important to make sure that you cover those numbers with them, and make sure that they have enough for a deposit, for the upfront costs, for prepaid items like, utilities that have to be set up, and, moving expenses. That way there's no big surprise, especially if they're coming from out of state, which is typically the case. Sorry, 1 second. I had to just send that call to voicemail. I don't know why. I put it on Do Not Disturb and it still comes through. So, explaining those things up front and making sure that they're set is crucial. And once you know that you're good to go and you've signed a contract with them and you can go out there and look at properties, you want to also make sure that you understand what are the really important things to them for the place that they're going to be living in. And the nice thing I think about this type of client is they're usually very organized, very responsive, very straightforward. That's kind of the military way. So they're not going to beat around the bush. They're going to tell you, here's what it is, hopefully, right? If not, you can quickly guide them to that, and make sure that you get past the fluff and get down to the nitty gritty. What do you really need here? So that when you're looking for properties for them, because most likely you are going to be looking for properties and you are going to be remotely showing them these properties, if they're not already here locally, maybe staying in an Airbnb or something like that. A lot of times they're going to be doing this with you remotely. So you want to have really good communication. Make sure that you understand how to best communicate with them, how to do video showings. Just have those processes in mind for yourself, and be ready to go out there and show a few places. And like Ashley said, like she told me, it wasn't difficult working with this kind of client. I mean, there was some upfront work to get all this stuff sorted out, and then it was go show them some properties that they picked out that they liked the most, and then help them submit an application. That's it. And there's an easy compensation there to get at the end, not to mention all the potential business that can come from that if you do a great job for them and you do it consistently and well throughout the whole process, and you make sure you catch all those points when you can ask for additional business, when you can remind them to refer their other families that need this kind of help that are coming to the area. All of those instances are super important. So Ashley, did you happen already to get any kind of potential referrals from them yet, or not so much? Not yet.
Not referral from them, but I've made a great relationship with the property manager who is also an investor. And
Hmm.
they not only do properties here, but also in Virginia. So
Nice.
I definitely communicated with him and I said, hey, I'd love to collaborate because they used to work with property management, but then they started self-managing on their own. But he is out of the country a lot. So I told him, I said, hey, I'm available if you need anything. Like, I'm just trying to see how I could get in with him to see if there's opportunity there. But I will definitely be reaching out to Sergio and Karina towards now that we're at the end, saying if there's anyone else who needs me.
Yes. Good. I love that. Yeah, and you will run across so many instances like that where you're talking to a self-managed property where the owner is self-managing and for one reason or another they're not using a property management company, and another opportunity there, right? To get yourself some business by offering that support and help. At the very least, hey, when these guys move out, I can help you find another tenant,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because this one's been sitting for a long time itself.
Beautiful properties just sitting there.
It,
Blows my mind. Okay.
yeah.
Actually, that leads me to a good point. How to find this kind of business, how to get in contact with these people who need this help, these military families that are doing these relocations. One of the best ways is through partnerships. That means connecting with family support centers, relocation offices, lenders, because they find out about military families that need to move. And sometimes they're selling a property and they're not buying another one right away. There's that in between point where they might be able to refer you. Property managers and community managers. These are the types of businesses that you can connect with business to business and let them know that you're available and that you are willing to work with this type of client, whether they're renting or buying. Because honestly, not every real estate agent is. And even if they would be willing, they're not taking the time to reach out to these various people and let them know, I'm here, I'm available. Send me who you have. I have some really helpful guides for them. Can I share that with you? Give them something, talk to them, become friendly with them, and see if you can reciprocate and send them some business as well occasionally. Another way is you can find these families, these military relocation families, directly through social media is a great way, through your content, through your website. You can create content about the local area where you are. You can create content about helping military families move. You can create local guides. You can you can talk about the neighborhood. You can do overviews about specific neighborhoods. And you can give them resources that would specifically help them because they're coming from usually other states and they have specific needs that maybe other buyers and renters don't have because of their situation of having to move quickly and having to move often. I don't actually know what the stat is on how often they move, but I think the last one I saw was roughly every 2 to 3 years. That's a lot. I barely get unpacked after 6 to 9 months. So, somebody that's doing that constantly, they'll take all the help that they can get and whatever is useful. And if you're not sure what kind of content to make, this is a great thing to look up and see what others have done, kind of copy paste, what's been working already. And then also use your AI, use your chat GPT to help you create a little guide, create a little plan, create some content that you can talk about. It doesn't have to be a lot. You don't have to focus only on that, but just put it out there a little bit, right? I do want to mention one thing in particular about the Inland Empire, which is interesting because at first I was under the impression that almost everybody was just kind of coming towards San Diego, right? And what I realized is that there's lots of different areas throughout the Inland Empire where these military relocations are ending up as well. For example, for families coming from Fort Inwin, you can,
Irwin.
or to Fort Inwin, right?
Irwin. It's Fort Irwin.
What's that?
It's Fort Irwin.
Fort Inwin, Irwin, thank you. There'll be more in the high desert areas, right? Barstow, Victorville, Hesperia. For the longer term purchases, they typically end up in Riverside or Moreno Valley or Temecula, Marietta areas. And these are the type of clients that are okay with a commute as long as they are in good neighborhood, good schools, nice area, and close enough to where they can get to where they need to be, right? Many clients that are stationed to do any kind of work or training over at March Air Force Base, they'll prioritize Riverside, Moreno Valley, and those nearby cities as well. And right now, the majority of them are still going to San Diego, but then close second is like Riverside, Moreno Valley, and then Barstow, Victorville, and then the ones going to Temecula, Marietta, Menifee area are more almost like a trade up. They tend to end up there at the end because they want nicer, bigger homes. So those are kinds of the areas that we're talking about. And if we're talking sales, these are all high sale areas. You know, they're not going to be houses that are priced at $300,000 and $400,000. We're talking 700, 800 up, except maybe in the high desert. So there's good money there to follow as well. Like I said before, I would say go back to the form that Bobby emailed you. It has a lot more notes there that you can read through just to get a really clean idea in your head about how this all works for military families. And there's a little action plan in there that you can follow as well if you want to try incorporating this as a lead source for yourself. One of the first things that I put there is just to identify the area that you would want to target. Like I said, there's these different zones throughout the Inland Empire. And then maybe just create like a little cheat sheet for yourself where you can write down your top neighborhoods, typical rents, typical purchase prices, commute times, schools, what's there, and then share that with your partners, your VA partners, your property management contacts. Let them know they can give that out to those folks that are interested in coming out here, that you're available. Make something that you can give them. Perhaps have a little cheat sheet for yourself or a script for what you're going to ask when you're talking to this type of lead in that discovery period, so that you don't miss anything important. And then just reach out to the different people that you can, connect with and get more leads from that are like this. Also, a couple of Facebook posts about this wouldn't be, a bad idea, or perhaps a little short guide that you can have available on there. Say, you talk briefly about it, or you can always remix anybody else's reels that are appropriate and then add your content in there. That's almost an easier way sometimes. If you don't want to create something, find one that, do a quick little search, find one that you like, that says a little something about military relocations, remix it, add your own caption, add your own post, and then say, hey, message me for this guide that can help you. Beyond that, anybody you speak with or that you do business with that is relocating in the military, just make sure that you always let them know that you're available to help their friends, to help anybody else that needs it. Always put that out there, even if you haven't worked with them yet. Because sometimes they're anticipating a move, but it hasn't happened yet. They haven't gotten their orders yet. and sometimes things change. That doesn't mean they don't know 10 other people that are in the same exact situation. So uh, they themselves, the leads themselves, can be a great source of more leads too, even if you don't end up working with them. So go ahead and take a look at the form that Bobby sent over. I put as much notes in there as I could to just keep it all in one place. And if you have any questions, now's the time.
All right, thank you, Monica. Do we have any questions out there?
No questions. Thank you, Monica.
You're welcome. Of
Yeah,
course.
thank you. Thank you, Monica.
There is, for each base, you can jump on their website, and a lot of them have the housing division where you can actually enter in your information and become I don't know what you call it, like a agent liaison for their personnel that maybe need an agent. So try that. Also, I was looking for some while we were while Monica was talking, but didn't find any. But I know that I have done that for Edwards Air Force Base, and that's going out towards China Lake, out that direction. And if anyone's interested, we do have a rental out there in North Edwards. It's a little bit far out there, so you know, you'd have to negotiate probably a little bit higher fee if you wanted to take that on. But we do have that available if anybody wanted to start their property management. We can't take it here. It's just too far.
Actually, that's a great question, Bobby.
Mhm.
Did anybody that's listening to this, did this spark anybody's interest as something that they might want to pursue?
Well, I'm definitely going to try to do more because I enjoyed it. It was fun and I think it was pretty easy. So, yeah, me.
So would you like that, it's quite far away. It's in, what's?
North Edwards.
No, North Edwards.
Mhm.
So it's quite far away, but that's huge for military there.
Mhm.
So would you want to connect with them? I believe it's about an hour and a half to 2 hours away, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so,
But that's an actual base, Ashley. So if you got in there, it could be great for military work.
sure. Okay. Let's chat about it. I'm open to exploring it, but I want more information before I say yes for sure.
Perfect. Okay. On that note, anybody else that would like that type of niche?
I might be interested.
Okay, good to know. Okay, I'll put you on correspondence as well.
All right, awesome. I just had a couple of updates. We got a few minutes. I get these alerts from the DRE, and I got a couple of them that I just wanted to go over. There was a DRE alert. There's scams going on using real estate agent identities. So they steal the identity of a real estate agent. Scammers are impersonating real estate agents by stealing their names, license numbers, photos, or online profiles. They're creating fake social media accounts, TikTok, etc., possibly Craigslist listings, or even creating websites and email addresses. So their goal is to look legitimate and to scam consumers. And then how the scam works is that the fake profiles look like they're real estate agents. There's a fake business address, usually a PO box, or a stolen address. The scammers contact clients pretending to offer rentals, property management, or home sales. It's easy for them because agent info is publicly available. You know, you Google any one of us, you're going to find an email address or a phone number. Here's the red flags to watch for. They're asking for upfront fees, cash payments, or a wire transfer. More red flags to watch for. You'll often see mismatched phone numbers, emails, or photos. They're going to pressure the consumer to act quickly. That's another red flag. And how consumers should verify. And this is something we can tell all of our clients. And it might be a good idea to do that. Have them, let consumers know that they can look up anyone's license and their information by going to the DRE website. There's a public lookup tool, and you can look up any real estate agent's license number, their contact phone, their contact email, and if those things aren't matching up, then it could be a scam, a scammer. So please spread that information. And the other alert is using AI. And I know that we've already started using AI to stage photos and things like that, little things like that, and it works really well. But here's what they're asking. They're asking us to use it smartly. AI is being used across real estate for marketing, listing descriptions, lead generation, and chatbots, property valuations, transaction support, and property management and tenant screening. The bottom line, AI is a tool to assist you and not replace you. Just keep that in mind. You're still 100% responsible for all the information you put out there. You can't say, well, I got it from AI and let that be a good excuse. That's not going to be a good excuse. If it came from you, that means that you have verified the information to be correct. You still owe fiduciary responsibility to your clients. And if you're using AI, and I would say if you have any questions or you're wondering if some information is correct, just run it by me. Send me a quick email with whatever information you derive from AI. And if you want me to double check it, I'm happy to do that. Advertising rules still apply. All AI generated content must be truthful, it must be accurate, and it must not be misleading. You must verify all property details, include required disclosures, and disclose digitally altered images. Ashley did a really nice job. She listed a condo and she put the AI generated and the originals right next to each other. And it was very easy to see what she had done. She was 1000% compliant with that. And good job, by the way, Ashley. Fair housing risks are real. And AI can unintentionally create discrimination. So be cautious when using AI for targeted ads, tenant screening, or lead prioritization. Even indirect bias, can be a fair housing violation. So you don't mean to bias a particular group, but using AI, you might inadvertently do that. All right, and remember, protect client data. When you're using AI, always, always, always use an alias. If you're asking AI to do something for you that is for a client, do not use real names. Depending on the system you're using, some AI programs are only bringing data in. Some bring data in and send data out. So you don't want your client's information going out. And if you're unsure what kind of system you're using, just play it safe and don't use actual names and information and their personal information. So just use the alias. All right, if you have any questions, always ask the question. It's better to be safe than sorry. Any questions?
And one thing you can do with AI is, especially if you're trying to get data from it, like stats, comps, information. Maybe it's just even information about a local area or what's happening there or what's happening in the market there. It's going to pull from lots of different sources. And if you want to know whether that information is accurate and on point, or if it's like making assumptions, because it can do that. If it thinks the way you're talking and the way you're asking is that you're asking for it to confirm something, it will find a way to confirm it, whether it's true or not.
Sure.
If you're not sure, I think it's always good to add in the language that says, I want you to source this and show me where you got this information. You'll be surprised how many times it comes back and say, oh, well, this doesn't really exist anywhere. This is just what I'm coming up with. So yeah, it'll do that.
Good tips. I love it.
And especially if you're asking it questions like, well, let's say you're drafting a document and you're trying to figure out what is the best language here, even, is this appropriate? Is this legal? Can I do this in California? It can look up information and tell you whether that's true or not, whether that's accurate or not, whether or not that's appropriate, but you need to ask it those kinds of questions that force it to show you where it got that information and how it came to that conclusion. Mostly I'd say if it's a legal question, you could start there, but don't end there. Make sure you double check somewhere else too.
Yeah. Yeah. Good tips. Thank you, Monica. All right. Well, we're out of time today. Do we have any last questions for Monica? Great job, Monica.
Yeah, thank you,
very
Monica.
much.
No.
Thank you.
Can I ask, was there supposed to be some kind of meeting later this week that I could have swore I'm trying to I was just, since you're here. Was there?
Me?
Yes.
No, I don't think so. I mean,
Okay.
there's one right after this meeting.
Oh yeah, no, not that one. I meant later in the
Oh.
week. Was there another one later in the week? No?
I don't think so.
Okay, all right.
Could have been my calendar making stuff up like AI does.
Never know.
It's been known to do that before. All right, everyone. Thank you so much and have a wonderful week. We'll put the replay out to you this week and we'll see you next week. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay.